All right, welcome to part one of this week's episode of Beyond the Struggle. I am here. I'm Jason Blackledge. Let me introduce myself first.
Right.
Yeah, I'm here. This is Jeff Monroe.
You got it
he
right.
is also here. And we are joined today by Kevin Jenkins, Mr. Kevin, as we refer to him.
Yeah, so we wanted to invite you on one because, you know, you're probably the oldest person we've had on the show. So we needed to have some diversity there. You know what I mean? All these young guys.
I can accept that.
That's the. You'll get plenty of the Jeff jokes.
Right.
Don't worry, Mr. Kevin.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on, man.
Good to be here, Jeff, Jason. I appreciate the opportunity.
So, Mr. Kevin,
Yes.
I call him Mr. Look, I was telling somebody just real quick, like, right, Kevin. I was sending you a text earlier, and you know what? I started typing in my phone, Mr. First, like instead of just Kevin.
I get Mr. a lot too, you know.
I just
a
wanted to.
respect thing.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that, but I like to feel like colleagues. And
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with saying Kevin,
Yeah.
you know, or Jason or Jeff.
Mr.
So-
Kevin sounds like your clients all the time.
Yeah. So I can appreciate the respect that I'm older. But I just like feeling like we're on the same level, regardless of age.
So Jason, it's Kevin, not
I
Mr.
got it.
Kevin.
I got it.
Right.
Well, I can tell you, man. You know, I appreciate you saying that, but since we've begun working together, you have been somebody that I have looked up to, and so I do appreciate you being here for sure. So I'll ask the first question.
Sure.
Give us a little bit. You are in recovery.
Yes, sir.
Right? So give us a little bit of the backstory, Kevin.
Okay, great. I was born and reared in the Baton Rouge area, and in an area called Eden Park, or Park Town. And I grew up in the 70s. I was born 1957, so I grew up in the 70s. During that era, we partied a lot. We had a lot of great time. None of my peers died as a result of an overdose. Some of us went to hospitals, parish jail, and one of us went to prison. So my era was a time where we had fun. We bar hopped, club hopped. We did a lot of those type things, and we had a great time doing it.
Yeah, we were talking about that on the way over here. Yeah. It's not like that anymore.
Not like that anymore.
No, like we were talking about, I have a 16-year-old daughter, and we were talking about, like, she doesn't do this, she doesn't do that, yada yada. But then we were like, we got 17-year-olds
coming in
shooting dope and this and that.
that have 3 children already. You know what I mean? So it is so different. We talk about that, how, the treatment industry's ever changing, times are ever changing, and the substances are ever changing. So,
Correct.
Growing up in the 70s, drinking alcohol and I don't know, whatever else, it wasn't the things that we have today. Maybe you had some Quaaludes or something like that.
Quaaludes, a lot of speed, occasionally cocaine. I couldn't afford cocaine as a teenager, but I had an older cousin that was a master plumber, and he had plenty of money, so he bought cocaine occasionally. And he was a biker also. He started riding bikes, motorcycles, in the early 70s. I started riding motorcycles in the 1977.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
Like, when did you start doing that? Yeah.
1977, I started riding. I was a spoiled kid. I'm the baby of 3. My parents bought me my first motorcycle. And immediately, the first day I bought it, my parents bought it, I rode home sober. Yeah. Thereafter, I was either high under the influence of marijuana or speed or alcohol. Yeah. And I rode that thing consistently in my addiction, partying, going across the river. There were clubs back then called WGs, the Spot, the Born. On this side of the river, Smackwater Jack, 244. Those were the clubs I hit in the 70s. Anyone that's in my age group know of those clubs. They were very popular. Smackwater Jack on Dallas Drive. And those were my hangout. That's what I loved to do back then. And those things kind of carried me on to the early 80s. But during middle school and high school, I was a troublemaker. I grew up in an area called the Park, and I had to learn how to be aggressive because I wasn't my nature wasn't first to be aggressive. Spoiled kid, teacher's pet in school, above average student, and so I had it made in school. However, I was attracted to this group of guys that were very aggressive, that gamble. They stole a lot, they drank a lot, and they had a place that hung out under the oak tree. So I gravitated toward the oak tree. And I started hanging out with these older guys, started learning how to gamble, how to talk, how to be aggressive. And because I was a spoiled kid, because I didn't have any older brothers, I got beat up a lot. And I got
Jeff
it
did too.
well, I got beat up a lot, Jeff, and I didn't like that. So I started learning how to be aggressive. And an older guy, his street name was Maine. He taught me how to fight. I became very aggressive and quite natural. I continued to use during this era.
What do you think? What do you think was the attractive portion of that you gravitated towards them? Do you think you know what it might have been?
Oh, I know exactly.
Yeah. Was it the alcohol and drugs, or was it just a need to fit in?
I think, Jeff, a sense of belonging, since we are a social being, and I grew up in a sheltered environment, and I didn't want to be sheltered. When I was in elementary school, the teachers knew me as, oh, that's Kathy, that's Cynthia's little brother.
Yeah.
I didn't have a name.
Yeah, no identity really.
No identity, so I didn't like that. So I started learning very early how to establish my own reputation. So I was attracted to the language. I was attracted to their dress. I was attracted to the hairstyle, and then the things they talked about, I wanted to know more about. So that's when I started growing my afro. I had one of the biggest afros in the
Me
70s.
too. Me too.
I can see that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Head full of hair. Yeah.
So I was just attracted to the lifestyle, the talk, the language, the diet, eating under the oak tree.
Yeah.
That was the thing I was attracted to. And I didn't have any big brothers, so I was attracted to older guys. And they fought me. They jumped me to teach me how to fight.
Right.
So I learned how to fight.
Kind of like an initiation type deal.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Were you weren't in any type of, was it a biker gang that you were kind of associated with?
Initially, it was only 5 people to have this mark right here. This mark stands for "To Death Do Us Part." I was the youngest one to receive the mark, and all of these guys were fighters. We did have a gang in my area called the Dukes, and they were very aggressive. And in the Deep Park off of Gus Young Avenue was the Ace of Spades. Easy Town was Canines. So the Dukes were some of my cousins, some of my oldest neighborhood friends, the guy that took me under his wing. They fought. We didn't shoot anybody or stab anybody. It was one stabbing, I have to say. But, we basically fought a lot.
Yeah, right.
So I learned how to fight from my older cousins, the Perkins, I'm calling names, Maine Williams, Leonard Williams. These guys, Leonard's still living, so these guys were fighters, and they taught me how to fight, and that's how I learned how to be aggressive.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Kevin. Like, what brought you to? You talked about what drew you to the aggression, what drew you to that life, right? The drinking, the drugs, this, that. What? Because I know you, so I know you've been sober. How long you been sober, Mr. Kevin?
45 years.
Yeah, 45 years, man.
That's crazy. So what was the?
That's older than Jason, right? Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Barely,
Right.
5 years.
Barely.
But what? So what? But
Congratulations.
what? Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank
That's why I said.
Thank you.
We
Jeff.
say, one day, 24 hours is a long time for us. 45 years is a great accomplishment.
Yeah, so that's my next question is what drew you to that? To be 45 years. I heard somebody at a meeting once say if you want to know what the secret to long-term recovery is, he said, don't drink and live a long time.
That's the secret.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Don't drink
But
and live a long time.
So he gave away the secret.
he did, man. So, and I gave it away for free.
That's not. You're not supposed to say that until about 20 years. Yeah.
But what drew you to that? I mean, so you must have you got sober at what age?
And actually, 22.
Yeah.
22. That was the beginning of the process. And let me say this: I was arrested as a juvenile. My first charge was a trespassing charge, and then my first adult arrest came at 17. I was a kid, right? 17 years old. I had finished high school May 15th, 1974, and was arrested May 31st, 1974 for possession of barbiturates. And
That's those Quaaludes you
Yeah.
were talking
Right,
about.
exactly.
Ludes, as we like to call them.
Exactly. So my name hit the paper, and immediately I felt proud because I was the youngest one
Yeah.
in my age group to go to jail. All the older guys I hung out, they have gone to jail, but I was the youngest, and so I had the street reputation immediately, and I felt proud of that. Sick thinking, but that's how I thought at the time. I was proud. I walked in jail one way and walked out the same way I walked in, so that was proud. It was known on the street, so that I walked in and came out the same way. And so I had one other arrest and had some issues with law, breaking the law, and things of that nature. Poor relationship, poor grades, failing in school. And I had one terrible accident on my motorcycle. Got hit broadside. And when I saw this coming, I just knew I was dying or losing my legs. And so that was one episode that kind of helped me say, well, God is trying to say something to you. But I didn't stop. So I continued on until, let me just share this story with you guys. And
We want all the stories.
let me share this one with you, Jeff. I remember one night coming from Lafayette. I was high, loaded, riding my 750. I had a semi-chopper then. Come across the Whiskey Bay. Now, we all know the Whiskey Bay has no shoulder.
Yeah.
So my bike just killed, and the electrical box went out. I didn't have any lights. So I'm on the Whiskey Bay knowing that I'm going to die because someone is going to hit me on this bridge. I'm going to go over into the Chafalaya. So I'm high. Didn't know what to do. The other two guys that was in front of me, they kept going. So just so happened, a man pulls up in a pickup truck with running boards to ride my bike on the back of his truck and had tie downs to tie my bike down. Just so happened.
Yeah.
So I helped get the bike on. We tied it down. I said, no, I'm going to ride in the back of this truck to my home. He said he's going to take me all the way to my parents' house on 37th Street, right? I said, no, you come sit in front. So I reluctantly got in front because I'm high, and this man started talking to me about God. And I knew theoretically about God, but
Right.
never had a relationship with God. But this man talked to me about God from the Whiskey Bay to my parents' house and dropped me off. My dad came out. We helped got the bike off. And my dad said, how much do I owe you for helping my boy? He never called me by my name. And so the man said, sir, you don't owe me anything. Just take me back to the interstate. So we jumped my dad's truck, and the man followed us from 37 to North Street, from North Street to North Acadian to make a left on North Acadian, go to South Acadian, and catch the interstate.
It's before GPS on your
Correct.
smartphone, Mr. Kevin.
Yes, long before that.
This
Long
before
before that.
MapQuest,
MapQuest
too,
and
you
all
know,
that.
I had
Long
all
before that. We just knew the streets, right?
Yeah. Landmarks and street
Yeah.
signs.
Oh, yeah, I got it, man. So the man disappeared as we made a left turn on North Acadian Thruway. And my dad couldn't have an answer. I didn't have an answer. So later, to this day, I believe it was an angel trying to get my attention because I was living a pretty rough life. And prior to that, these are like episodes that happened in the 70s that made me realize I needed God in my life.
Yeah.
On one occasion, a man pulled a gun out on me and said, if he moves, shoot him. This was on the corner of North Street and 33rd. I'm calling spots because this really happened. And the reason I didn't get shot that day is because one of the merchants called the police. Police came. I heard the sirens, and we all took off. And I was so glad to hear police sirens that day. And never in my life been more happy.
Yeah, I've been more excited to hear that, huh?
So on two different occasions, gun was pulled on me because I was pretty aggressive. I took a lot of things from people. I was arrogant because I knew I had some backup, And so, but things was catching up with me. It's quite natural I never got shot. So all those episodes led me to the point where maybe my parents were right. Maybe I need God in my life. So
I'm gonna interrupt you.
Sure, go ahead.
22 years old or 21 or however, that's a young age to feel like. I feel like most people have that epiphany. Like maybe my parents were right. I think I was probably like mid-30s before 22 is young to have that epiphany. Like, oh, maybe they were right,
I didn't have that epiphany till I was about 36 years old.
I was about
you
the
know,
same,
and
Let me ask you, did you ever have a gun pointed in your face?
Yep. I
You
have.
ever got hit broadside?
No.
not on.
Yeah, so those things, and think about this angel that saved me on the Whiskey Bay.
Right. And of course, I was thinking about this too. I also didn't have that life at 17. Right. It took me multiple years of getting beat up and beat down to get to the point that you're talking about. Right.
Okay.
And I can only imagine what it would have been like if my life had been like at 17 or 18 years old, going through that. And I a lot of times in my life, and I look back on that, like, what would my life have been if I had made the decision at that crossroads to go into spiritual help versus, down that intolerable situation the best we could,
Yes.
if I'd have done it earlier, if I would have listened to, maybe, hey, this lifestyle right here will lead into these, and I'm looking at all these other people instead of my own ideas of what a spiritual life look like. I talk about that a lot of like, okay, yeah, for me a spiritual life is going door to door selling Bibles, right? And what they called holy rollers at the time, and so like, yeah, man, I do know this. I know that no matter what point in my life the decision was made, it's exactly the point in my life that the decision was made, and God has been involved in it the whole time,
Yes, sir.
But I'm just keep going back to the guy in the truck and then just gone, and like, that had like, how long after that point did this idea of changing your life kind of take place?
It didn't happen till let's see, that was 78. It's about a year later, a year and a half later.
So it was always in.
It was in my conscious mind. Well, I'm sorry, it was in my subconscious mind.
The seed was planted.
Yeah, the seed was planted, Jason. The seed was planted. I had several episodes that each year kind of led me to think, well, Kevin, maybe you're on the wrong track. Maybe your parents are right. But I kept going until it got deeper and deeper. I had failed relationship, never could keep a job. I had hundreds of little jobs coming up, but never could keep a job, never could stay in a stable relationship in high school or college. And I dropped out of college 100 times because I was just unmanageable. All I wanted to do was party on campus.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Just have fun. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah. I know. I went to college a lot of times until I finally had to pay for college myself.
Jeff went to enough college to be a doctor and a lawyer, right?
Right, exactly.
But yeah, dude, I mean, right along there with you,
Yeah.
We, it says in that book that we use for a Design for Living that we're people that normally would not mix, but, when we look back in our past, it's like, we can relate to one another in the past that we chose because of the addiction and because of like what our minds told us was a good time, right? Like other people would probably say you're insane for thinking that's a good time,
Well, Mr. Kevin, let me ask you this question. Tell us about your introduction to like a 12-step program. Where did that come about for you?
I'm somewhat different than most individuals that I've met in the field. They had treatment, detox, and things of that nature. I didn't have that experience. I had what they call a spiritual experience, as the big book calls it. There's two ways individuals could get it.
Right.
Either a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience. I had the experience. I had this sudden change come over me. And I wanted to change because all the things that were planted in my head as a child, the angels' interventions and not being shot. I could have been shot. I just started thinking these were angels protecting me. So I had this experience where I wanted to get closer to a power that's greater than me. So I got active in church. And I never forget this, man. A certified substance abuse counselor, it was called certified substance abuse counselor back in the day, came to our church to put on a seminar. He made a statement. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. I didn't understand this statement. I took offense to it because I didn't want to be considered an alcoholic again. God, I thought I was free. I thought I was delivered. So he came across as, he knew his stuff. At the time, I didn't think he knew his stuff. I thought I was smarter.
We've all been there.
I thought I was smarter. So I got into this debate with him. I said, well, that's not true because I used to do X, Y, Z. I'm not an alcoholic anymore. I don't drink.
Yeah.
And so an older man came up to me after church, said, Kevin, I know how you feel. I know what you're talking about. How about if I invite you to a meeting, a men's group one night? Would you go? I said, well, Albert, I said, yeah, I'll go. I said, I trust you. He was an older guy.
Yeah.
And he introduced me to an AA meeting.
Yeah.
That's how I started learning about the 12 steps through this older man who heard me argue with this certified substance abuse counselor who knew what he was talking about. And so that's how I got introduced. And I started going to meetings with him, and I started incorporating the 12 steps with the principles I was learning from this big book that we talk about a lot. And my journey began, and that's when I considered myself in recovery in 1980, because I actually stopped drinking and smoking and gambling in 79. But I was introduced to recovery, the 12 steps, in 1980. And since that time, I've been advocating and promoting 12-step because I know the liberation that it can bring an individual. And I look at myself and the progress that I've gained because of those 12 steps, and I'm very happy and very proud.
Well, one of the reasons I was so excited, is because like you've had the ability to experience almost everything now. A career, right? Exactly. Like, because you're retired, right?
Exactly.
You retired and came back to work as in this field. That's different. Also, we always joke about, they get sober and the first thing they say is, "I'm going to be a counselor." Right.
Well, so Jason was saying retire. What did you do prior to Woodlake? What was kind of like your introduction into the field? So I know you got your master's, and you went back, got your bachelor's and your master's. You finally finished school, right?
In recovery.
In recovery.
Right? I'll make that very clear.
And I did, and as crazy as it sound, mine was all in active addiction, and I had to be actively addicted and on a substance just to do school.
Wow.
And like, I just remember the classes and everything going to and needing to have the pills in order to get up and go, like, and that's the only way I could finish school, and who knows? I could have been a doctor by now, right? Had I been
Dr. Jeff Monroe,
But no, so you got your bachelor's and master's. What did you do prior to? Most people know Kevin as one of our good counselors at Woodlake. So what was it prior to Woodlake?
All right, thanks for watching part one of this two-part podcast, Beyond the Struggle. We appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure to like, follow, share. What is it, Jeff? Always subscribe. Thank you, and make sure to come back for part two of this two-part podcast.
Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kevin, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you.